Rosny Golf Course. Nestled in between Rosny Hill, Gordons Hill, Waverley Flora Park and the Derwent River, it is a short but very attractive public course which has been the venue of the Australian Public Course Championships. According to publicly accepted history, the course has developed and changed in much the same way that most courses have around the country. However, if you try to delve deeper into its development, you come across gaping black holes in the official account. In trying to fill these holes, an air of nervousness and fear seems to envelop those approached. Just a simple request to the local council to verify the course layout prior to its downsizing in 2001 presented this evasive response. Likewise, a request on Australia's most popular golfing forum resulted in a 43-day wait for a response that also suggested that no one was prepared to speak about it. Needless to say, a response from the Rosny Golf Club has not been forthcoming. But certain artefacts have come to light that tell a shocking story. A story of murder, love, betrayal, intrigue, and high treason. It is a story the Tasmanian government doesn't want you to hear. But I tell it now. As the course stands now, Rosny Golf Course consists of 9 holes, covering an area of approximately 14 hectares. But almost 70 years ago it covered an area almost twice that size. Official records place the opening day to be the 12th of August, 1916. However, the opening is shrouded in mystery, with barely a mention in the local paper. Historians suggest that this was possibly due to wartime restrictions, and perhaps a sense of discretion in not being seen to celebrate while other Tasmanians were receiving sad news from the Western Front. Photographic records of the course's development are scarce and come from only a small number of sources. Most images publicly available have been used in this documentary. Recently unearthed artefacts, however, retrieved from an ex-government filing cabinet, suggest that all of these images have been heavily doctored to cover the true purpose of the course's development and expansion. The shocking truth is that the golf course was just a cover for a top-secret government installation, an installation that put the likes of the famous Area 51 to shame. It was the fulfillment of a dream for one man, and the satisfying of a hobby for another. This, more than anything else, is their story. Raymond Morse and Morton Figg were both born on the same day in the same hospital in Hobart in 1892. They grew up together and were always in the thick of trouble. Morse was the son of a British Royal Engineer. He was sent to boarding school in England and, following in his father's footsteps, was educated at Clifton College, Bristol, and at the Royal Military Academy, Woolwich. Figg, missing his good friend terribly, joined Morse at Clifton College, but soon found the educational demands too much. He dropped out of school and, wanting to see the world, joined the French Foreign Legion. It was here that, as a rite of passage ceremony, he was presented with a new name. This excited Figg tremendously, as he was tired of the jeers and taunting he received growing up with the name Morton Figg. Xavier Alois Desmond Emile, as he was thus known, became increasingly involved in the transportation division of the Legion. When he grew tired of the rigours of Legionnaire life, he returned to Hobart, where he started his own transportation company, starting with trucks and lorries, then expanding to shipping, and eventually the fledgling air industry. Meanwhile in England, Morse was commissioned as Second Lieutenant, Royal Engineers on the 22nd of July 1912. His unorthodox engineering and construction methods received both acclaim and ridicule from his peers. The cause of most controversy was his development of a specialist tunnelling team consisting of 24 trained rabbits. He was nearly laughed out of the Royal Engineers until he executed a convincing display of his team's talents by appearing one night inside an empty cell on the bottom floor of the notorious Dartmoor prison. It had taken only 4 days to tunnel through from almost half a mile away, and the demonstration earned him the affectionate name of Rabbito Morse. It was in mid-1915 that he received word from home. His old friend XE, as Morse now affectionately called him, required his specialist services urgently. Morse immediately resigned his commission and headed home. Upon returning to Hobart, he was reunited with Emile. XE explained that 2 years previously he had been employed by the mysterious MIB, or Ministry of Inciting Banality, a covert government department committed to ensuring that Tasmania remain ordinary, normal, plain, pedestrian, mediocre and nondescript. Because of his transportation experience, Emile was given the task of transporting out of the state things that, in the department's words, just didn't fit in. Before long, he became very influential in the department, so much so that he was soon calling the shots on many important top-secret departmental ventures. Emile had recently commenced the redevelopment of a collection of nondescript farm dwellings in Rosny into a state-of-the-art centre for security, cover-ups and espionage. The plan was to disguise the whole installation underneath a new golf course, but it soon became apparent to Emile that a very special talent was required to pull the whole venture off. He asked Morse if he was interested in tackling the mammoth project. In Morse's words, recorded in Emile's journal, "Wild rabbits couldn't stop me." Due to a paranoid, xenophobic government, the two were basically given a blank checkbook to protect the state from anything strange, unusual, bizarre, weird, out of left field, outside the square, out of the ordinary, or just downright freaky. As can be seen from this departmental film made in the 1930s, Morse, Emile, and the rabbits had a field day.
This is the site of the new MIB headquarters at Rosny. On the surface it appears to be just your standard run-of-the-mill golf course, but this is just a clever ploy to disguise this top-secret installation. A greenkeeper's cottage? No, an entrance to a series of underground bunkers linked together by a veritable labyrinth of tunnels. A picturesque fairway? No, a military-grade landing strip capable of landing large aircraft. A busy ferry jetty? No, a submarine mooring. An historic barn? No, a radar tracking station. A lovely clubhouse? No, a radio receiving nerve center with crack deciphering team. First set up to convert and decipher dots and dashes sent by unseen enemy forces into intelligible text, but now used to listen in on all sorts of wireless transmissions.
It was while on a survey mission to the furthest reaches of the golf course that Morse and Emile made a fateful discovery. It was quite by chance that Emile, a budding cinematographer, had his camera rolling when the discovery was made. The object Morse postulated was a portal or gate from another world, possibly a mini black star or hole. It was thus given the nickname of the Stargate. Morse made copious drawings of the symbols surrounding the ring, which Emil jokingly referred to as Egyptian hieroglyphs. Morse panned the idea. He was certain that it was an alien technology left behind thousands of years ago, and that somewhere close by there had to be some kind of control device that operated the Stargate from this end, allowing travel from Earth. However, months of searching by the two men failed to turn up the controller. They faced another problem too. This portal was the very thing that the department would class as un-Tasmanian. Morse and Emil swore an oath of secrecy. If the minister were to find out about the ring's existence, they would face charges of high treason, and the Stargate would be shipped off to foreign shores immediately. After Morse had documented the artifact, they reburied it and placed a new golf green over the top. Every afternoon the pair of them would go back to the site and continue to search for the controller. Meanwhile, the world around them was changing. The responsibility of the deciphering team evolved to include trying to crack the mysterious shortwave numbers station transmissions. It has long been speculated that these stations operate as a simple and foolproof method for government agencies to communicate with spies working undercover. And when these transmissions were first received by amateur radio operators in Tasmania, the MIB went into meltdown. Try as they might though, the team made no progress in deciphering these messages. Morse immediately recommended a Danish woman he met whilst working in England. Helga Octal was a mathematical genius and an expert cryptographer, and on Morse's glowing recommendation she was immediately employed. What Morse failed to mention to the minister, or to Emil, was that he and Octal had been romantically involved. Upon Octal's arrival in Hobart, Morse secretly attempted to rekindle their relationship, but the spark between them was gone. To make matters worse, Octal caught the attention of Emil, and after a whirlwind romance, they were married. Morse was devastated. Refusing XE's request that he be best man at the wedding, Morse resigned his position and returned to England a broken man. Emil was completely baffled by his good friend's reaction and the fact that his repeated correspondence to Morse obtained no reply. Emil, having lost his best friend, became listless and withdrawn. Octal tried to bury herself in her work and became quite famous in the espionage world for solving the number station code, dubbed the Tom Lehrer New Math Cipher.
Hooray for new math! New math!
2, 0, 1, 5.
The book that I got this problem out of wants you to do it in base 8.
7, 7, 5, 2.
But don't panic. Base 8 is just like base 10, really. If you're missing 2 fingers.
In a film made in celebration of the 20th anniversary of the formation of Emil's transport company, Emil appears distracted and indifferent.
G'day! It's hard to believe that 20 years ago I started this company, but now it's grown into an incredibly strong and vibrant company. Recently, with the purchase of 4 new semis, which I've affectionately named Semi 1, Semi 2, Semi 3, and, well, you get the picture. We are going to be able to transport whatever to wherever.
This melancholia was not to last, however. After many months of just going through the motions, Emil seemingly overnight became animated and enthusiastic about life. All was not well, however, between Octal and Emil. After a lengthy tirade of words between them behind closed doors in the radio room, Octal was heard to shout, "You're mad! You're completely mad!" Running from the room, she was never seen in Tasmania again, returning immediately to Denmark. In a secret interview years later with the Danish Secret Service, on behalf of the MIB, we find some insight into this turn of events.
Yes, Shirai Sorka, Sam Sirkovs look at me home.
Skissit viffender na skissen seit ich skissender nach naunele mich nicht so weiß dessi.
Way off na husten is it now get the
Sie die du fischt viffender nach hofen seit na ich nicht nach naunele mich nicht.
Yes, he said, for there the William of how he fit.
Emil would only make fleeting appearances at work, spending hours out in the fields. Then, one day, he raced into the radio room, ordered it cleared, and sent a telegram to London. It read, simply, "Plane on way to pick you up. Stop. I have found it. Stop." 6 days later, Morse arrived back in Tasmania. Sources say the two men joyfully embraced. Then, after putting out an evac order to clear the greens, Emil and Morse headed out onto the golf course. They haven't been seen since. A search revealed Emil's movie camera, set up on a tripod overlooking a strange device. Nearby was the Stargate, which now stood vertically. The footage from the camera is astonishing. The minister was furious that such a large and dangerous object had been willfully kept in the state and ordered its immediate removal. Ironically, the last job performed by Emil's company, now without a CEO, was to dig up the Stargate and transport it to Victoria. Until recently its whereabouts were unknown, but it was unwittingly rediscovered by a somewhat eccentric doctor of mathematics who naively claimed it as Melbourne's own Stargate. The entire Rosny operation was closed down almost immediately. Tunnels were hastily filled in, buildings demolished, and a quick golf course veneer was laid over the top. However, due to the vast number of tunnels and underground rooms, the area is inherently unstable. This hasn't been helped by the descendants of Morse's rabbits, who have remained on the course and have continued tunnelling. Other unusual things began to occur. Golf balls disappeared at alarming rates in certain areas of the course, and golfers swore that their golf balls also rolled uphill in other places. With complaints about the state of the course and the strange happenings increasing, the course was downsized in 2001. Large swathes of golf course have slowly been swallowed up by grass and trees, but signs of its previous use can still be found. The land continues to subside as tunnels collapse, making certain areas treacherous, especially at night. The strange happenings have continued, with dog owners complaining that their dogs have an uncontrollable urge to urinate at the base of trees and chase the rabbits. The official response from the government is,
That's what dogs do.
But some believe that part of the Stargate was left behind, and that's what's causing these things to happen. Emil's notes make reference to an alien power source, a ZPM, or zero-point unit, that gave off enormous amounts of energy. The shipping manifests make no mention of it when the Stargate was moved to Melbourne. Perhaps it is still out there.
Some of you who have small children may have perhaps been put in the embarrassing position of being unable to do your child's arithmetic homework because of the current revolution in mathematics teaching known as the new math. So as a public service here tonight, I thought I would offer a brief lesson in the new math. Tonight, we're going to cover subtraction. This is the first room I've worked for a while. It didn't have a blackboard, so we will have to make do with more primitive visual aids, as they say in the ed biz. Consider the following subtraction problem, which I will put up here. 342 minus 173. Now, remember how we used to do that. 3 from 2 is 9, carry the 1, and if you're under 35 or went to a private school, you say 7 from 3 is 6, but if you're over 35 and went to a public school, you say 8 from 4 is 6. And carry the 1, so we have 169. But in the new approach, as you know, the important thing is to understand what you're doing rather than to get the right answer. Here's how they do it now. You can't take 3 from 2. 2 is less than 3, so you look at the 4 in the tens place. Now that's really 4 tens, so you make it 3 tens, regroup, and you change a 10 to 10 ones, and you add them to the 2 and get 12, and you take away 3, that's 9. Is that clear? Now instead of 4 in the tens place, you've got 3 because you added 1, that is to say 10 to the 2, but you can't take 7 from 3, so you look in the hundreds place. From the 3, you then use 1 to make 10 ones, and you know why 4 plus minus 1 plus 10 is 14 minus 1, because addition is commutative, right? And so you got 13 tens, and you take away 7, and that leaves 5. Well, 6, actually, but the idea is the important thing. Now go back to the hundreds place. You're left with 2, and you take away 1 from 2, and that leaves... Everybody get 1? Not bad for the first day. Hooray for new math, new math. It won't do you a bit of good to review math. It's so simple, so very simple, that only a child can do it. Now that actually is not the answer that I had in mind, because the book that I got this problem out of wants you to do it in base 8. But don't panic. Base 8 is just like base 10, really, if you're missing 2 fingers. Shall we have a go at it? Hang on. You can't take 3 from 2. 2 is less than 3, so you look at the 4 in the 8's place. Now that's really 4 8s, so you make it 3 8s, regroup, and you change an 8 to 8 ones, and you add to the 2, and you get 1 2 base 8, which is 10 base 10, and you take away 3, that's 7. Okay? Now instead of 4 in the 8's place, you've got 3 because you added 1, that is to say 8, to the 2, but you can't take 7 from 3, so you look at the 64s. 64. How did 64 get into it? I hear you cry. Well, 64 is 8 squared, don't you see? Well, you ask a silly question, you get a silly answer. From the 3, you then use 1 to make 8 ones. You add those ones to the 3, and you get 1 3 base 8, or in other words, in base 10, you have 11, and you take away 7, and 7 from 11 is 4. Now go back to the 64s. You're left with 2, and you take away 1 from 2, and that leaves... Now, let's not always see the same hands. 1, that's right. Whoever got 1 can stay after the show and clean the erasers. Hooray for new math, new math. It won't do you a bit of good to review math. It's so simple, so very simple, that only a child can do it. Come back tomorrow night. We're gonna do fractions.